Great. Thank you, team. So this is my official welcome to you all for attending the State Route 1 multi-asset roadway rehabilitation project. We are going to provide a quick overview of the format for tonight's meeting on the next slide. So first, I'd like to have Kelly with Caltrans and Dylan with AECom come off mute and introduce themselves.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Rebecca. My name is Kelly Ma. I am the Caltrans project manager for the multi-asset roadway rehabilitation project that's on Highway 1 in San Mateo County. Thanks. And Dylan?
Hi, I am Dylan Lennebacker, a consultant with AECom and an environmental planner, supporting Caltrans District 4 with the environmental document that is currently out circulating for public comment. And we can go on to the presentation.
So thank you, Kelly and Dylan. They will be our main presenters tonight. And we have a few logistics to go over with you. And then indeed, there will be a presentation deck that Kelly and Dylan will walk through. And then finally, you'll be introduced to a bunch more from the Caltrans team, and we will move into the question and answer session when our panelists and our panel of experts will answer your questions. So next slide. So tonight there will be two ways to ask those questions during the Q&A portion of the meeting. You'll be able to type your question into the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. And this Q&A feature is usually indicated by a pair of speech bubbles with the letters Q and A next to it or below it. When you click on that speech bubble icon, a comment box will pop up and allow you to type within it. When you're done typing your question or comment, you'll hit submit, and that will send your question to the backend team, who will send it to us so that we can read it aloud and get a response from the experts. If you're joining by phone only tonight, you can call Broden. And again, his phone number is 510-768-9095. And he will type your question into the Q&A box for you and then hit submit so that we see your question. So just a reminder too that comments made during this presentation are not considered formal comments on the draft initial study. In order for your comment to become a formal part of the document, it must be submitted in writing to the contact provided in the draft environmental document, and we'll actually share that content or the contact information on the next slide. And this information will be shared a couple of different times throughout this meeting. So first of all, the deadline to submit an official comment is August 8th of this year. And those can be submitted by US mail and by email. And I'm going to read this information aloud for those of you who are joining by phone. So if you wish to submit your comment by US mail, please send it to John Seal. That's John, and last name Seal, S-E-A-L. He's at Caltrans District 4, and that's at P.O. Box 23660, mail stop 8B in Oakland, California, 94623-0660. You can also email your comment to John at john.seal@dot.ca.gov. And again, we will share this slide a couple different times, so I will read it again. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Kelly, who's going to start with our project overview.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Rebecca. So again, my name is Kelly Ma. I am the Caltrans project manager for the multi-asset roadway rehabilitation maintenance project that is on Highway 1 in San Mateo County. So first, I want to say thank you for participating in our public meeting for this project, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have at the end of the presentation. And so first, I'll be going over the project overview in the next few slides. Okay, so let's first go over the purpose and need of this multi-asset roadway rehabilitation project. The purpose is to restore the facility to a state of good repair. So Caltrans would like to preserve, improve, and extend the life of the roadway and minimize future maintenance expenditures, as well as upgrade existing traffic system infrastructure and improve roadway safety, and also enhance bicycle and pedestrian access. So these bullets all benefit the residents, traveling public, and our state highway system. The project need includes poor ride quality that will continue to deteriorate, and also highway facilities that are worn out, and also current traffic systems that are approaching the end of their life, and they do need to be upgraded. So we would also love to encourage and maximize multimodal transportation opportunities, as this is one of our Caltrans strategic goals for the district. And so in the next slide, I'll go over the location of these improvements. So as you can see from the map, the maintenance project is located on Highway 1, as well as one spot location on State Route 92 at Main Street. The project is about 7.3 miles long along Highway 1, starting in and near the city of Half Moon Bay between Wavecrest Road on the south side, and then extends all the way north to 0.1 miles south of Marine Boulevard in San Mateo County. The project does go through the city of Half Moon Bay and also the communities of El Granada and Moss Beach, and is a conventional highway with asphalt concrete. It mostly consists of one traveled lane in each direction with left turn pockets at intersections. In the next slide, I'll go over the project funding. So I wanted to give a little bit more background on Caltrans maintenance projects, and also talk a little bit about project funding and how it's incorporated in developing these projects. So these Caltrans maintenance projects are funded through what we call the State Highway Operation and Protection Program. And it is abbreviated as SHOP, S-H-O-P-P. So these SHOP projects are part of the State Highway System's Fix It First program, and it funds the repair and preservation, emergency repair, safety improvements, highway operational improvements, which do not add a new traffic lane to the system. So these do not increase the capacity of the system. And so by continuously repairing and also modernizing the state highway system, these SHOP projects protect the investments that have been made over many decades. And so the SHOP program is also part of a long-term planning effort with a 10-year forecast. And so these projects are adopted and approved by the California Transportation Commission, CTC, every 2 years. And so the CTC sets the scope and also allocates the budget for each phase of the project. And so as you may have read in the draft environmental document for the maintenance project, as well as from the name of the project, the scope is multi-asset. So it encompasses more than just pavement rehabilitation. And the reason for that is because within each of these SHOP programs, there are these SHOP advisors for different assets, such as pavement, culvert, transportation operation system. And for this specific project, all the program advisors got together to combine the assets and scope into one overarching project along Highway 1 corridor to avoid these improvements coming as separate individual projects. Therefore, in the next few slides, I'll kind of go over the project scope and different assets that were combined into this project. And so the project scope is listed on the slide. I'll go through and read through one by one. This project proposes to rehabilitate our roadway, upgrade guardrail, rehabilitate our drainage system, improve bus stops, upgrade facilities to American with Disabilities Act ADA standards, incorporate bicycle improvements, meet Caltrans complete streets guidance, and last but not least, upgrade traffic management system TMS elements. Again, this is a maintenance project with multiple assets that is funded through the State Highway Operation and Protection Program, our SHOP program, and is known as our Fix It First program. So I'll be going into each of the assets in more detail in the next few slides. Of the first item that we listed in the previous slide, a large part of this project is to perform pavement rehabilitation and maintenance. So in the slide, you can see the picture. You can notice some cracks and distress on the surface of the roadway. And this is an example of the existing pavement quality just north of Miramar. And in the next slide, we have a map of where we are performing the pavement rehabilitation. So it's along about 7.3 miles, as I said earlier, along Highway 1 from Wavecrest Road to just south of Marine Boulevard. And this will extend the life of the roadway by 20 years. And in the next slide, we go over our guardrail upgrades. The scope also includes replacing the existing metal beam guardrails in the next slide. And the replacement of the metal beam guardrails is to the latest Caltrans standard. So it's our Midwest guardrail system. And this will upgrade the project location with our latest standards and safety improvements. And the current guardrails will be replaced with the latest design to reduce the severity of the run-off road collisions. These new guardrails are taller and have different spacings from the posts, and also utilize different guardrail end treatments, which meet the current design standards as shown in the two photos in this slide. The first photo is existing, and the second is our proposed Midwest guardrail system. In the next slide, we go over the guardrail locations that are proposed, and these are notated with purple dots, and there's roughly about 20 locations on this map. The next slide, we go over images of our drainage system rehabilitation, such as improvements to repairing damaged culverts, upgrading pipe sizes, as well as cleaning existing drainage facilities and drainage inlets. And the next slide then shows the drainage system improvement locations. So as you can see on the map, the proposed locations are shown in blue dots. And I know we've already received a few public comments regarding the drainage system on Highway 1. And I just want to let you know, we are reviewing each of these comments and assessing the feasibility of improving the specific locations noted in these comments. So if there are any additional comments, please submit the formal comments during our public comment period, and we can research into these locations into our final environmental documents. And so currently for our drainage improvements, we do have a culvert inspection that's ongoing for the entire stretch of the project, which will let us know more details into which culverts and drainage inlets to improve and clean. And in our next slide, we also have many bike and pedestrian and complete streets improvements on this project, as well as ADA upgrades. So one of the assets to this project is striping Class 2 bike lanes with a stripe buffer where feasible along our project location as shown in photos 1 and 2. We also have highway intersection improvements, which include striping crosswalks with more visible parallel striping as shown in photo 3. And we also want to ensure the curb ramps are ADA compliant, which is shown in photo 4. There are also a couple additional crosswalks that are proposed on this project. We do synchronize with the county on the Highway 1 safety and mobility improvement studies, as well as connect the coast side. So we've been coordinating with them and we'll continue to coordinate as the project progresses. In the next slide, we go over our proposed bus stop improvements to pave transit stops and also connect them via a sidewalk or a path along Highway 1. So this photo shows an example of the current sidewalk gap at Terrace Ave bus stop, where we would extend the sidewalk to the bus stop. And then we would coordinate further with Samtrans when we go into our design phase. In the next slide, we have a map of our complete streets improvement proposals. So in the legend on the bottom left side, you can see yellow dots are for the bus stop paving locations, and in pink are the locations of the complete street intersection improvements. And we've also zoomed into a portion of the Class 1 path and sidewalks that are being studied for the west side of Highway 1 from Kelly Ave to the Highway 1 State Route 92 intersection. And that's notated by the blue and green dotted lines. Additional crosswalks are also being studied, as I mentioned earlier, at Highway 1 and Kelly Ave, Highway 1 and Coronado Street, and also Highway 1 and Capistrano Road. All right, and moving on, we have our traffic management system elements, and their associated images are shown on this slide. So these elements are part of the implementation of Highway 1's SMART corridor plan. And so SMART stands for safety, mobility, automated, real-time traffic management. And these improvements will be incremental just due to the funding cycle, but is part of Caltrans' long-term initiative to develop an intelligent transportation system. So some of the photos that are shown on the slide are example of the elements, and the project proposes traffic monitoring systems, TMS, which are the rectangular sensors that are installed on the road as shown in the first photo. And these will continuously monitor and detect vehicles and moving traffic. And so the purpose of this is it will help analyze the traffic data to better utilize our roadway system and also improve the safety of transportation and also establish future transportation plans. And then the next two photos, we have fixed intersection cameras and closed circuit television cameras, CCTVs, which would be installed on the existing mast arm or the existing luminaire pole, as shown in the second and third photo. And then so these images are used to monitor traffic conditions and also respond to crashes and report incidents to dispatch the appropriate response. So again, those two images are on the right side. All right, and in the next slide, we have our traffic monitoring system location map. And so two traffic monitoring systems will be constructed on this project, one at Seymour Street and also one at Capistrano Road. And again, these are used to monitor and manage the state highway system with detectors in the pavement on the travel lanes. And then in the next slide, we have an image of all our fixed intersection camera locations. We have 9 intersection camera locations proposed, including one on Route 92 at Main Street. That was our spot location on 92. And so these cameras will only be used for performance monitoring, and also long-term data will not be stored, and there are strict guidelines regarding the use and the transmission of these photos. And they are strictly used for traffic management and not for law enforcement. And in the next slide, we go over our CCTV locations. There are 3 CCTV cameras that are proposed on this project, and they are at Seymour Street, Medio Ave, and Capistrano Road. And so for the next few slides, I'll hand it over to Dylan Becker to go over the environmental document and the next steps.
Thank you, Kelly. I'm just getting unmuted here. Hi, my name is Dylan Lennebacker. I'm an environmental planner and consultant with AECOM, and I am supporting Caltrans in preparing the draft initial study and proposed negative declaration for the State Route 1 multi-asset roadway rehabilitation project. This document is currently circulating and is available for review and comment until August 8, 2022. Let's go ahead to the next slide, please. So Caltrans is the lead agency under the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, for the project. The draft initial study prepared meets the requirements of CEQA to determine potential impacts from the project on environmental resources. The initial study currently circulating for review and comment analyzes potential impacts from the project on the surrounding environmental and community resources, identifies project measures to avoid and minimize impacts, identifies and demonstrates compliance with state and federal laws, and makes a determination on the level of potential impacts. Caltrans incorporates the results of its analysis, determinations, and proposed commitments from the initial study into its final project approach and design. There's a link out on this slide giving a shortened link to where the environmental document currently sits on the Caltrans District 4 environmental document website. That's a shortened URL that will redirect to their site. Let's move to the next slide, please. So we're going to have a brief overview of what an initial study and negative declaration is. Preparation of an initial study is limited to projects that have no greater than a less than significant impact across all environmental topics analyzed for potential impact. After the initial study has been circulated and comments have been addressed, Caltrans prepares and files a negative declaration stating that there is no substantial evidence that the project may have a significant impact on the environment. Let's go ahead to the next slide. In the document that's currently out there for review, there were 22 CEQA topics reviewed and analyzed for the project, most of which were determined to have no impact. The categories shown here were determined to have a less than significant impacts. These include aesthetics, biological resources, energy, geology and soils, greenhouse gas emissions, hazards and hazardous materials, hydrology and water quality, land use and planning, transportation, and wildfire. Because the project has implemented design features, project features that are implemented across most or all Caltrans projects to avoid or minimize environmental impacts, and project-specific avoidance and minimization measures that will be incorporated into the project's plans and specs, all impacts were determined to have less than significant impacts without proposed proposed mitigation. Next slide, please. And now we're going to talk a little bit about the next steps here and our schedule. So as you can see at the left-hand side here, we're showing a rough linear schedule here. July 8th was the date when the environmental document filed its notice of completion with the state clearinghouse. Again, there's a link here on the slide that's a shortened URL that will get you to the Caltrans District 4 environmental document website. The document's out for review and comment, and that public comment period ends August 8th of this year. And then after that point, we've received comments, and we've already started to get some comments in. We appreciate all the folks that have submitted comments now, and we hope that folks have some questions that come up here that they would like to submit formally. Once all the comments have been received, Caltrans will address all comments, make any updates to the environmental document that are required, and prepare its final initial study and negative declaration, and then file that notice of determination and final initial study with the state clearinghouse. And we're anticipating that'll be all completed by this November. Once the environmental document is completed and this conceptual design phase is done, Caltrans can move its project into its next phase, which it calls its plans, specs, and estimating period, where the design is refined and permitting is done. And the project puts together a bid package that goes out to bid for contractors to be constructed. And once that bid package is out, they can go into contract with the contractor to complete and construct the project, which is anticipated this time to be done in October of 2026. Let's move to the next slide, please. So as noted previously, there are comments already coming in. We really do appreciate it. Your comments make Caltrans projects better. It helps to know what the coastal community is thinking about what Caltrans is doing in this area and for this project specifically. If you do have comments that you would like to submit formally, you can send them two ways, either through US mail or via email. Email is preferred by Caltrans. During the pandemic, it is still much easier for staff to receive the emails than the hard copy mail, but both are totally acceptable, and we will be checking our mailbox for sure. If you want to send it via postal, send it to John Seal, Associate Environmental Scientist, Caltrans District 4, PO Box 23660, Mail Stop 8B, Oakland, California 94623-0660. And you can send your comments via email to John, JOHN, .seal, SEAL, @dot.ca.gov. And another reminder, I know we've said it a few times, August 8th is the final day for comments to be received. So please, if you have something you'd like to share, please get it in. And I want to make a quick reminder, we are sharing and presenting the project and making folks aware that the environmental document is out there. We are having a Q&A period at the end of this. Any questions and answers in this presentation will not be included in the environmental document. So if you have a question that you want to make sure is in the final document, please do submit them formally. This is an opportunity for us to get some feedback and share a little bit about the project and help clarify anything that you may have already read or are looking forward to reading in the environmental document. Let's move on to the next slide. So what happens after we get your comments? So each comment is going to be submitted, it's going to be recorded, reviewed by the project team, and added into the final environmental document. So we'll get it and make sure that each comment is addressed. If there's a comment that reveals new information that's not already in there, we'll take a look at the environmental document and we'll update as appropriate. We expect to have, as noted previously, everything, all the revisions completed and the final document ready in the fall of this year. And then once the final environmental document is filed, if the project is given environmental approval and funding is obtained, Caltrans could then design and construct all or part of the project that was included and described in the environmental document. Let's move on to the next slide. With that, I've finished my portion of the presentation, and I'm going to hand it back to Rebecca to walk us through how the Q&A function will be used for this presentation and how you can communicate directly with us here for this presentation. So I will hand it over to you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Kelly and Dylan. That was a lot of great information. So the first thing we're going to do before we start the Q&A is we're actually going to pause just for a moment so we can stop recording, because now the presentation portion is over. So I'll let my team